Alright, and welcome back. I hope you're having a good day. I am not trying to bore you with too much Ficus microcarpa, but right now that's what I've got that needs working. In all honesty, the shape that this is in, beginning of October in Florida and everything, I would just kind of leave it alone. It's actually fine. It doesn't really need pruning or anything. But it does have wire that's been on there for 4 months, and I can't leave that on anymore. I've been checking it on every now and again. It's the longest I've ever left wire on. I've been checking on it every now and again, and there's some spots, if you really kind of look at it, where it really is cutting in a little bit too much. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take my time pruning it just simply because, like, I do want to, you guys are looking at the front of the tree, you know, this little slender piece here, I do want to save, and you can even see here where it kind of died back a little bit with the wire on there or whatever. So some of it with some weaker spots that I'd like to get some growth to, I'm going to leave alone. And then the rest of it, I'm just going to kind of, you know, prune up, especially those stronger growing parts, and get in here enough so that I can see where the wire is, pull the wire off, might have to cut it off just depending on how much it's cutting in or whatever. Do today when I take the wire off, I'm probably going to be knocking some of the smaller branches off as I go anyway. So I did leave this ball growth up here. There's a pretty good scar there. Once I take the wire and stuff off, I think I am going to work these scars just a little bit, but I'm not going to wire it up right now. I am going to just kind of let it be a tree over the winter. I'll leave this in the hopes that it heals that scar up a little bit more, and it'll just kind of keep the sap flowing or whatever. I left some of these weaker branches. I left either a growing tip or a little cluster of growth there. One of the reasons I usually don't do that is because, you know, these places where I left growth, you know, here in like a week, these will have really huge leaves here. Some of the places that I pruned a little more aggressively will come out really small and everything. But, you know, it's winter time. Or, you know, it's heading into our fall time, but, you know, it will be winter soon. You know, that'll just, like, let it recover for sure, leaving a lot of that growth behind. And I'm thinking more long term than short term. I'm not really worried about what it's going to look like tomorrow or a month from now or whatever. I'm thinking like, 5, 10 years down the road. When I wire, I usually do wire from the bottom up, so it makes sense to kind of take the wire off from the top down. So I'll start up here. Alright, and there we are, all the wires off. Since I have been making videos with my trees, I have not been taking any still pictures of them at all. I should start doing that a little bit more. But before I had the wire on there, it was all, facing straight up. If you go back and look at that old video, I'll put the link in the comments in the description. That did improve it quite a bit, putting some wire on it. So next spring, even though like a couple weeks from now, this thing will really have a lot of uneven growth because of where I left a lot of the growth at. But next spring, this thing will be completely hairy again. Towards the end of February, beginning of March, I'll get in here, cut back just like I just did right now. It'll all be kind of growing up again like a ficus does. And so I'll definitely wire it up again. I think it'll be a little more ready for it. It was ready for it before. Some of these branches were pretty small. But I think it'll be a little bit further along. Should be looking pretty good. Let me see what I'm going to take. This tree basically has, what do we got here? 4 big wounds on it that you can see. This one up here, which kind of is the most noticeable, it's just on top there and everything. I was hoping that a leader would come more out of the center of it, or even maybe both sides, just to kind of cover it up, but it didn't. So I'm going to hit that with knob cutters. And then maybe my Dremel just a little bit. And I'm going to hit that with the Dremel, and this with the Dremel, and that too. So I got the knob cutters. I'm really not trying to... I left it this tall because of this aerial root. I thought it looked kind of graceful coming down there. I still think it does. So I wanted to save that when I took it off the original tree. And so I don't really want to take a bulk of it out or anything like that. What I want to do is right now... Right now, it's just, you can see where that part is just dried up, and the only part it's growing out of is this other side here. And I just kind of want to rough it up a little bit, just so that it gets down to some live tissue. It might spark a bud there, you never know. Then I could cut this off and make that the new leader. But just kind of take off some of the dead and deadish stuff. And it really, even though we are heading into fall and or winter or whatever, it really should start growing really quickly out of here, because right now it's still, it's 90 degrees today. It's still going to, it's still going to grow plenty before actual winter comes. And with this side here, with me leaving all of that, that'll just really take off. And the idea is to try to get that to just close up some. And like I said, if it sparks a bud right out of there, something like that, I'll go ahead and just cut that off, make that the new leader. I really didn't want it that tall to begin with. I just wanted to save that one aerial root there. On the way, that kind of came off smooth with the knob cutters. You probably see some of that ficus sap there or whatever, but the way that kind of came off smooth with the knob cutters, I won't even Dremel that. I'll just see what all that growth kind of heals up there. Brought it down, like I said, to the live tissues, so start rolling over a little more, maybe envelop that dead wood. Eventually it's got to. And then I'll just rough them up some and just kind of get rid of some of all that dead wood, so that when the live wood does come around, it doesn't have as much to envelop as it does now. Alright. Alright, so this one right on the trunk, I think that's all I'm going to do with it. Might even make an interesting little hollow there one day, but it's got a live part on the bottom, live part on the top, and that should just continue to envelop that. This one here, see, I didn't really get to too much live stuff around the edges. I did kind of drill out a bunch of the wood in the middle there. I'm going to hit that with the knob cutters just a little bit, and this other one too, I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of, I took out some of the middle